Today, we're gonna be talking about something that I don't really see a lot of people talking about, especially in a creative entrepreneurial space. Now, if you're a content creator or an entrepreneur, it's probably a good chance that your content has been mediocre for a very long time compared to other content creators. Of course, overcoming mediocrity is not easy. It takes some serious intentions, especially if you're climbing new heights that you've never reached before. Picture this: mediocrity is like that stubborn villain in a movie that tried to mess up your storyline. But the thing is, for most movies, you never really know who the villain is until the end of the movie. So to put things in context, you never really know your content is trash. You never really know your work is trash until you're overcoming that stage of mediocrity. So in other words, until you realize the villain in your movie exists, you will always be stuck in the stage of mediocrity. How can you overcome something when you're not sure if it exists or not? It's impossible. You know, I've been riding this filmmaking wave for about 12 years now, and I still feel like my content is mediocre. But how I separate myself from the others is I know what I need to work on. I know what my flaws are when it comes to filmmaking. I know what needs to be done and things that needs to be improved. In other words, I know the villain in my movie. I know how to defeat him for me to showcase my full potential. So for me, my story begins in Haiti. I was 4 years old. My uncle first introduced movies to me when he decided to build a homemade cinema at his house. He used to have like a wall of VHS tapes. I'm talking about like 12,000 of them. I'm not even joking. So when my uncle wasn't home, he left me in charge to run the cinema. So the way it would work, people would come in and rent out a VHS tape and they would give me the money. And when my uncle come back, I would give him how much money we made today and he would give me like a quarter. Back then, a quarter was a lot. So me being 4 years old and having thousands of hours worth of VHS tapes, it was natural that I fell in love with filmmaking. I fell in love with the fact that someone was able to come up with an idea and turn it into real life for everyone else's entertainment. I thought that was fascinating. So I eventually wanted to create my own films. I told my uncle, hey, I want to make movies. I want to know how they do their things. So is it possible that you could teach me? He quickly shut it down because number one, we didn't have access to a camera. We didn't have access to editing software. I think it was 2003 at that time. So I don't even think YouTube exists. So everything was foreign to me and my uncle. He just saw VHS tapes and he liked the movie and he decided to rent them out. So that idea of me becoming a filmmaker quickly died. Now, fast forward to when I was 17 and living in America. I have a job, I have friends, I have access to bring back that childhood fantasy to be a filmmaker. It was possible, it was tangible. So everything was in place for me to create my very first film, The Perfect Heist. I put my all into this movie. Blood, sweat, and tears, time. I wanted to make sure that this movie was going to be my best movie. I wanted Quentin Tarantino to call me and be like, yo, this movie is so good, we gonna work on a sequel and I wanna be on it with you. That was my idea going into the film. So we shot it, we filmed it, and for the final product, as you could guess, it was hot shit. Garbage. Trash.
I know you don't want to be here all day. I don't want to be here all day. So just tell me who did it. We can go home.
You know, man, I'm not a snitch, man, but your mom.
It was a struggle. I hit some serious lows that made me doubt my creativity. Watching a film, for example, Quentin Tarantino, he make it look so easy. But when I tried to execute my own work, my own project, I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out how to make a good film. But regardless of that outcome, I went back to the drawing board. I kept on pushing, dead set on climbing out of that mediocrity hole. So fast forward a year and a half later, climbing out of my depressed hibernation, I decided to release my second film, Mastermind Thief.
See you in hell, motherfucker.
Time is ticking, yeah, it's ticking away. I waited all my life to say my misery hates company. I'm at a loss for words, that's a first for me. Silence is golden.
It was about a guy who decided to rob a serial killer, and throughout the film, that serial killer started coming after his friends one by one until he finally got to him. And again, that film, hot shit. Now don't get me wrong, it definitely got better. My color grading got better, my storytelling got better, my camera angles got better. I was onto something, but it wasn't to the standard that I wanted to hold myself in. It wasn't what my full potential can be. So rightfully so, that mediocrity grip still had a strong hold on me.
Now I'm 24 years old, so after years of putting out mediocre movies, I finally decided to put everything I learned on my most recent short film, Malcolm X, The Last Speech.
If we are united, we can do this.
But I can't die a coward. If this is what needs to be taught, then I'll teach it. If this is what needs to be addressed, then I'll address it. If this is the speech that I need to give, then I'll give it. If this is the way of Allah, then may His peace and protection be upon me.
Now that was a film I was proud of. I was actually going somewhere. I understand color grading. I understood camera angles. I understood how to tell a story. Now I know there was some circumstances that was out of my control, like the people not showing up, certain cameras that I wanted to have during that film I didn't have access to. But overall, through all those obstacles, I was still proud of the product that I was able to come up with, despite the lack of resources. So I was proud of that. So throughout the twists and turns and me putting out a whole bunch of movies that turned out to be trash, I was finally starting to see results. So if you're curious to how I was able to overcome that mediocrity struggle, the first thing I did was learning. As cliche as it is, you can never stop learning about your craft. You can never stop reading books, because you can't be stagnant with the stuff you already know. You have to constantly try to evolve, because as soon as you get comfortable where you're at, you just bought yourself a one-way ticket to nowhere. Learning for me right now, reading books is not even a task no more. It's more so of a lifestyle. Like every single day I make sure I have to read. I have to read something I never read before. I have to read a comedy. I have to read a thriller. I have to read some type of book that I never read before, because reading actually creates stimulations to your creativity. So if you're not reading, you probably ain't gonna go nowhere if you're a creator. And the second thing I learned is you have to invest in yourself. Invest in that camera that's gonna give you the better quality. Invest in that book that's gonna give you the knowledge to launch you further. Invest in your mental health. Invest in your diet. Invest, invest, invest. You have to invest in yourself, because for people to actually take you serious or even lend a hand, they have to know that you was able to invest in yourself first prior to you asking for help. So that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching. I'm out.
Hello, Wisconsin!
I'm stupid.